Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol here in the studio. Lots to talk about. Transfer news, of course, one of the big topics, including Rodri and where he's going next. Barcelona, the destination, as we are seeing that he has chosen them over Real Madrid as it stands right now and is set to be leaving Manchester City with Barcelona, the place to be for the World Cup winner and the Ballon d'Or winner, Nedum, in with us for the first time since he was with us for the World Cup. Frank Leboeuf is with us as well. No, did I miss the comma in between? Nedum, it's the first time that you've been here since you were with us for the World Cup. Lots has been going on at Manchester City. We wanted to get a bit of your gauge on what's going on there right now with this case with Rodri.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and to be honest, I think it's been on the books that he's going to be going for a little while now. I think with him going into 1 year left on his contract, I think the fact that he's essentially done his time at City and been excellent, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to find that move. I think there was lots of talk about Real Madrid, but now that Barcelona's there, I think for me personally, I can see it. And obviously the two clubs are in very different situations. The two leagues themselves are very different in terms of the sort of understanding of it, the pressures of it and so on. But I think he's deserving of being able to get moved if he can do it. If he wants to go to Barcelona, I don't think there'll be many people at Man City that will begrudge him that, because he's come to City, he's helped them win the league, he's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League Player of the Season, I believe, he's won a Ballon d'Or, he's won all these accolades and stuff with Spain. And so for him to go back to La Liga at a point where he's at the peak of his powers, more power to him. It will be disappointing because, you've seen how good he can be, especially at that last World Cup. But, this is a move that it seems inevitable given the fact he's 30 years old and 1 year left on his deal. But it's the way that football goes, I guess.
Yeah, they're all want out of City, Nedum, aren't they? All the best players now. Dominoes are falling.
Which are the ones you're talking about, Craig?
Well, I'm thinking about, depending how Maresca... Yeah, that could be... you might have to jump ship to the red half. Yeah. You know what I mean? Think so. Well,
No.
We do have Frank Leboeuf with us as well, by the way. That got lost in Nedum's Ballon d'Or win. But yes, let's talk a little bit about what's going on at Manchester City, because I see much more departures there in that list, Nedum, than arrivals.
You could definitely say that, but some of those players that you see in that list, looking at the likes of John Stones, Bernardo Silva, Nathan Ake, they've been there for nearly a decade. They've been there for such a long time. And I think it's fair to say that from a recruitment standpoint, you want to see some sort of names being refreshed. And I think the legacy that they leave will be very, very tough to match. But the fact is the club is trying to build in that sort of direction. And I think we saw a year ago, Guardiola kept making the point that the squad's too big, and those players have left. And the squad still feels too big now. So I think in terms of what their future looks like, they're trying to bring it in and focus in on some sort of younger players. Obviously, you don't want all those guys to leave in the same window around the same sort of time. But they've had their impact. They've done great for Man City, and it's time for other people to step up. And I'm sure if we, show a potential Man City lineup, it might not be as good as, say, some of the teams that would have existed with a John Stones and so on. But you look at it, and that could be City's team for the next 4, 5, 6 years, which is surely essentially what they would have wanted from a recruitment standpoint, and to be able to build for a future without Pep Guardiola. So in some ways, I like it. The average age is coming down a lot, and they might not be, as I say, the final or the end product as such, but they have the potential to be really significant in the Premier League and, maybe in Europe as well.
That's a fact. Haaland doesn't get itchy feet as well.
Yeah.
I think the big concern is
that's Manchester.
It's not a side that's really going to frighten you. It's not a squad that's going to frighten you now, and it's not a manager that's going to frighten you. Enzo Maresca. He's been at City before, obviously. He's been at Leicester, been at Chelsea. It's a big set of shoes to fall into, isn't it? It's a bit like going after Jurgen Klopp or going after Sir Alex Ferguson or Arsene Wenger back in the day. It's big shoes to fill, and it's a different Man City, isn't it? It's a Man City that was building back when Guardiola came in to really get to the summit, which they did. The big question now is how is this ship going to sail? Can they challenge Arsenal? Can Liverpool challenge Arsenal with a poor summer so far and a new manager? What are Chelsea going to do? And Arsenal look as if they've got the bit between their teeth in terms of bulking up that squad again. So at the moment, it's up to the rest to go out there and prove that they're going to be the challengers. And I'm not sure who it is.
When you look at that team, there's no aura around it whatsoever. You don't look at that team, and you take Haaland away, you're not looking at that team going, oh, I don't want anything to do with him, or I don't want anything to do with them. I mean, Maresca has got to build the aura again, because that aura has been blasted over the last, 18 months, couple of seasons. and as strong as it is, I think right now that's the only thing you can say is it's really strong. You're not looking at that going, oh, look at the combinations and look at this and how they're going to play together, and you're absolutely not. You're just going, that's a strong team, and I'd rather avoid them, but I think we could do all right against them.
There's a couple of players, there's 3 or 4 players on the bench, the notables there. We don't know what version of Phil Foden is going to be around. Could be a really exciting one. Might not be. That's how hot and cold it's been. And I do think, and I've talked to Nedum about this, certainly when we were watching him in the cup finals and the semi-finals. Omar Mamouche hasn't done it. Nico Gonzalez hasn't done it. They're still there. They're still there, and Guardiola, in the end, didn't fancy them. Whether Maresca will or not, it remains to be seen. But they always had a bench that frightened you, and now they don't. They don't have a first 11 that is good, is decent, but it doesn't frighten you.
What do you think of this 11, Frank? Do you feel the same as the boys do?
Not really. I think I found them a little bit harsh, I would say, at the least. And because when I see the names and I see the bench, I think you even have some depth, and you have only international players who have proven throughout their career that they can do something. And the only question mark that I have is how Enzo Maresca is going to make them play, and all together, is the chemistry will work or not? That's the only question mark that I have. But he has the tools for me to have a very good season. And yes, I agree with the guys in a way that Arsenal are favourites, and nobody can catch them right now, according to what we have seen last year and the year before. But Manchester City can trouble them. I'm pretty sure if Enzo Maresca finds something special and magical, which is in doubt, because according to, and I agree with Craig what he just said before, it's always hard after a big coach like Guardiola, Wenger, Klopp, or Sir Alex Ferguson to follow through. But really, I think City can finish second and fight maybe against Arsenal with the names that they have.
In recent years, when you take De Bruyne out the year before, and then you take Bernardo Silva out and take Rodri out and take John Stones, who hasn't played, as Nedum said, as much because of injury and age. But when you take Rodri and Bernardo Silva out, are they a better team or a poorer team? Even though you've signed Elliot Anderson, we're not comparing Elliot Anderson to Rodri. Rodri's the best in the world at the moment and has been, albeit he didn't have a sterling season at Man City last year coming back from injury. But if we take that little period out, prior to that, he was the best holding midfielder in the world, and he had a great World Cup. So, if he goes, they're a poorer side without him in it. They're a poorer side, arguably, without Bernardo Silva in it. That's just kind of where we are. And then you factor in Stevie mentioned the aura about arguably one of the greatest managers that's ever been in Guardiola, and how then Enzo Maresca's not that man. So I think it's not a disaster, but there's a lot to concern yourself if you're a City fan about what's the season going to look like.
Well, look at the middle of the park, for example. We know exactly what City have been all about for the last decade, 100%. You know exactly when ball gets in a certain position, where's it going to go? How are they going to get from there to there? All of a sudden, you've completely changed the whole midfield. If Rodri's gone, and he can't play anyway, so you've thrown Anderson in here. Now we're throwing O'Reilly in the middle, who we know has been going down the left. So we don't know what we're going to get from the middle. And we don't know how the back and the middle are going to combine. And we don't know how the middle and the front are going to combine, because it's a completely different midfield. It's going to be a new way of getting the ball, as I said, from back to middle and then middle to front. So there are so many questions over this City team. Absolutely, more questions than certainly answers.
Have you got any answers for these questions that the boys are bringing up here, Nedum?
No, I think these are really good questions that are being brought up, but it's because we have a new manager. You see at Man City, because you see, for example, like Guardiola had been there for basically 10 years, so you knew what to expect. You knew the ins and outs, the style of play, the concepts, everything, the players that he'd had for so long. But now things are changing. Nobody knows how Maresca is going to be working with these City players, what his style is going to be, how he's going to make them great again. But I think the point going into this season is that the question marks about a lot of teams, especially up near the top of the league, because you have Arsenal, who have the continuity, they have the Premier League title, they have players who are just at the right age to potentially go again. But then what are Chelsea going to be like this year? What are City going to be like? What are Spurs going to be like? You know, Aston Villa have a bit of continuity as well. Carrick hasn't been at United for that long either. You know, you look at Liverpool as well. You're not sure what the Premier League is going to look like. So you have a ton of teams who have like that ceiling. Like it could work, but would we be surprised in, say, 6 months' time it's not working? And that's something which we're not used to seeing from Man City, because under Pep, he was essentially first or second, year in, year out. But now you have those doubts. But they have the quality. And I think Stevie said something probably a couple of years ago which stuck in my mind. And he mentioned, I think it's a famous Liverpool manager, and he said it's always better to get rid of a player a year early than it is a year late. And maybe that's what City are doing with the players that they have now and building for what could be, you know, a successful era ahead for Maresca.
When you speak about building with Maresca, it's reported that his dream replacement, if Rodri is to go, is Enzo Fernandez coming in. And that looks as though that could be the name that we would be seeing come to City. Does that excite you, Nedum?
It doesn't excite me in terms of him being a direct replacement for Rodri, because the two playing styles are very, very different. But I think in terms of having an impact and doing well for Chelsea, you know, he has been one of their better players across the years that he's been there. There have been times when he's been captain as well, and he's had big moments for them. You know, you're looking at a player who has won a World Cup, who has played most of a World Cup final not too long ago, and he has a bit of spite, bit of bite, bit of edge to him. And I think if he comes along, Maresca will know exactly how he's going to play him. And I'm sure that he can do well for City. But again, when the talk is this is a replacement for, I couldn't disagree anymore. Because I think, as Craig said and the guys have said, the way that Rodri played was so unique and so special to that City side that if you think you're going to bring somebody in to do the same job or something similar, has to be a certain profile. And Enzo Fernandez isn't that. For as good as he is not that at all.
Phil Foden's not going to be happy. If Enzo Fernandez walks through the door, Phil Foden's just signed a new deal. If there's one player that's going to affect more than MD, surely it has to be Phil Foden. I wouldn't like to be Phil Foden right now, reading the papers, if that's what's going to happen. Because in my opinion, him or Cherky are the first ones that would move aside for him. So I don't see. If I'm Phil Foden, surely before I signed that contract, I needed some answers about what was expected of me, where I was going to play, how was I going to fit in with Maresca. And if I've sat down with Maresca and gone through all of that, and then he turns around and signs Enzo Fernandez, I'm not happy, Bonnie, not at all.
What do you think of what Stevie's saying, Craig?
Well, I think at the end of the day, yeah, look, he'll know this better than anybody. Been at Liverpool in the heyday, although the squads were not as big, but there is always competition, and you always want competition for places. The big question is, the more new arrivals that come in, how will some of these players that have been below their normal standards recently, how will they react? So you could argue that, yeah, the more signings is a blow, but it's up to Phil Foden to show us that form of 2-3 years ago, whatever it was, when he was almost the first in the team sheet at one point. I remember the performance at Anfield. Do you remember it when he scored that? Unbelievable. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like Phil Foden almost and 10 others. And somewhere down the line, I mean, there's a reason he wasn't in the England squad. There's a reason. There's a reason Cole Palmer wasn't in it. There's a reason Phil Foden wasn't in the squad. It wasn't just because Thomas Tuchel doesn't like him, it's because he didn't think he was going to offer him things that he needed. Now, you can argue about that and debate it then when England went out in the end. But it's up to Phil Foden, when he gets a chance, and he will, to go out there and prove that he can be the man again. He's got the talent to do it. He's got the ability to do it. And I don't know the reasons why it's, whether it's confidence, whether it's, application, attitude, lifestyle. I don't know what's changed. I can't answer that question. And maybe it is a new manager coming in. Same with Kerkez at Liverpool with his old manager coming in Areola. Maybe it is just something like that. But something with Foden hasn't quite been right this last at least 18 months.
What's the feeling on the Foden factor here then, Nedum, at Manchester City right now with everything that's gone on?
Yeah, so I had to sort of pick the team.
Sorry. I'll change names.
Go ahead, Nedum.
Go ahead, Nedum.
It's okay,
Go
fine.
ahead, Nedum. Go ahead, Nedum.
Sorry, so
Go ahead.
So I had to pick the 11 for City, and I was thinking I kind of want to put Foden in there, but I couldn't picture Shirky on the bench because right now, you feel there's a bit more like positive energy around the Shirky, like he has more confidence, has more belief in himself, and understands what his role is. He's got a bit of flair to him. But then for Phil, for some reason, in his last 18 months or so, it's like the confidence just hasn't been there. And it's strange to think that somebody so talented can still be essentially a confidence player, because we've seen him reach the very peaks. He's been Premier League Player of the Season, one of the best players in world football 2 seasons ago. And then all of a sudden, it seems like it's a shadow of his former self. So now when all of a sudden we're picking a side and I'm like, well, maybe Phil Foden will start when he's this generational talent, really doesn't make sense at all. I'd like to think that Maresca will find a way to bring out the very best in him and to see that maybe he is a confidence player, because I'm sure Pep in some ways, has known him for so long that maybe he doesn't want to be offering those little things like, come on Phil, come on Phil, come on Phil. Well, a new manager needs someone like Phil Foden to do well, because it makes his job a whole lot easier. And yes, I think the guys are right. If someone like an Enzo Fernandez comes in and Foden is, in any way concerned about that and he's losing his spot, then yeah, why did he sign that deal? But I like to think the fact that he signed his deal suggests that there's going to be something positive coming from him in this season. If not something great, then something far better than the last 2 seasons.
Where are you on Enzo Fernandez then, Frank? Because obviously that would cost a fair bit of money, wouldn't it? Don't Chelsea want to keep him?
Football-wise, I'm okay with him staying at Chelsea, and I think he served the club very well, and he's a great player. It's more personally-wise in the way he was behaving with the French players. Then after the also last season when he said that he wanted to leave, that's his behavior and his mentality that I don't like. So. He served the club well, he can leave, I won't regret him. I don't know if any fans will regret him. He did the job, nothing to say, but he can go. Really, it won't be missed.
Well,
100 million, you're not bothered.
I mean,
wow.
He certainly would be missed on the field, as they've sold Cucurella as well, and 1 or 2 others. We were talking about this during the World Cup. He's got Atletico Madrid, Fernandez this is. He's got Atletico Madrid written all over him. He's annoying, he's a good player, scores goals, can be a bit of a thug, makes bad decisions. He's got Simeone player written all over him, isn't he? Not sure he's got Man City written all over him, if I'm being honest. But it seems clear that he wants a different challenge from Chelsea. But it's always felt to me that he wants to go to Spain. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
What was it that made you think you wanted to go to Spain? Was it all those, I love Madrid, lovely city, wouldn't mind it.
Well, to be fair, that was just a nonsense, because Cucurella was at it as well and he got his move. But it was Enzo Fernandez that took the fall with the suspension, which was just utterly stupid at the time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a little concerning if you're Xabi Alonso, I have to say, because the season's not that far away. And you want to know who you've got, don't you, really? You want to know what you're working with. And he can ill afford another bad period as a manager, because he's rebuilding after the sort of debacle at Real Madrid. And what he doesn't want is getting towards the end of August and then 1 or 2 of his key players are going to go. That's the difficult position he's in. And Chelsea have to show that they're not a selling club. They're a club that wants to build and wants to... and it's been a weird summer for them, because they've spent all this time telling people they were signing these youngsters, and then they went the opposite way. So they really are sending out a lot of conflicting messages, which is slightly concerning if you're the new manager there.
Yeah, OK. City also said to be in talks, well, remaining in talks.
Is this Man City TV today?
It is today, I think. I'm even wearing the light blue for it. Ayyoub Bouaddi, the Moroccan midfielder, Frank, 18 years old from Lille. What more can you tell us about this player?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. For who?
We're talking about Ayyoub Bouaddi, who we got to see in the World Cup.
Is he listening?
I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm a big fan. What he showed playing for France and for Morocco during the World Cup and before for the French national team, he showed his talent, and I think he deserved to go, and he proved maturity during that World Cup, playing for the first time for his mother country, let's say. He proved all his talent and his maturity. So I'm not scared of him going to a big club and proving his talent again. He will have to improve, that's for sure. But he has everything. I think the mind and the power to be one of the best midfielders. it's always hard, you know, of course, to take the spot of the best midfielder in the world with Rodri. But he has the mentality of that, and I want to believe that it could be a good catch for City for many, many years.
Is it too big an ask, though, Frank, for an 18-year-old to have to fill that role?
I don't think so. I mean, you want to play football, you know, you play for Morocco, you play in the World Cup, you play against the best players, you play with very good players, you want to go for it. And we can see that. We see those players, and especially nowadays, being 17, Lamine Yamal, Mbappe before him, and some others, not fearing anything and going for it. And I feel Bouaddi is so confident about his possibilities and his skills that I'm not scared about that. I think he's ready for that. He's ready to go for it, and he proved that already with the national team, being one of the main players during that World Cup. So he's going to go there and do the job.
We look less at age now and more about. You look at. I mean, Yamal is something different, isn't he? But then you look at the same team and you look at Pau Cubarsí. He's been in the team since 16, 17, the Barcelona team. He's won 2 titles. He's had several different partners, and he got another partner at the World Cup in Aymeric Laporte. And he's, as a teenager, won the World Cup.
And best young player in the World Cup.
So
yeah, don't you think it's different, though, for those 2 Barcelona guys in particular, because they're from Barcelona, they were brought up there, they've come into the side.
Part of their DNA.
Yeah, I mean,
they're still doing it with Spain.
I know they are,
World Cup.
but I think the difference is he's going to sign for Man City, and they're supposed to challenge for the Premier League,
in the Premier
the Champions League. But he's expected to go there and produce straight away. That's tough for an 18-year-old. I know there's a lot of young guys doing well, but for an 18-year-old to step into Man City, and you're stepping into Rodri's shoes as well, I think that's an awful lot to ask.
Yeah, particularly in the middle of the park.
Yeah, big time.
And I'm not saying it's easier, but you're at the back. It's not. There's different facets to it, but you can see the game.
Yeah, you can read it.
For most of it, you can see it in front of you when you're in the middle of the park, particularly in the top leagues, be it Spain or England or wherever. It can be very fast in there, and physical and fast, and that's the kind of difference when you're out in that wide position. You're showcasing your tricks and you're doing stuff. When you're at centre half, you're trying to read the game. You're working with your partner. When you're in the middle of the park, you're right in the mix.
Less time, less space, less.
You're in the trenches in there, and everything's moving so much faster than you've ever seen before. So there's a lot, and I think Maresca will understand that, and I think the supporters. City supporters would understand that for anybody coming in, even Elliot Anderson, you know, what did he have? A couple of good seasons at Forest? There was nobody batting an eyelid, by the way, when he left Newcastle, even though they didn't really want to sell him, but it was a PSR issue. But nobody was going, this is the biggest disaster ever, how can we lose Elliot Anderson? He goes to Forest, he has a couple of good seasons, and all of a sudden, he's over 100 million. So, but even at that, the supporters wouldn't expect Elliot Anderson to be Rodri. They're expecting a very good player, but you're not going to expect Rodri because he's so smooth generally in what he does in the middle of that park. So,
Bouaddi, for you, Nedum, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's obviously a very, very good player now. And when you think about the fact he's only 18 years of age, you can see the sort of future that he would have ahead of him. I think coming to a Man City side and being in the Premier League and potentially aspiring to try and win the Premier League from such a young age, yes, there is pressure on his shoulders. But what I liked about him and some of these other players who we talk about, these young sort of mavericks, is that they almost love that pressure. They're ready for it. They don't hide from it. And I think in some ways that comes because, like, foundationally, they're all really good players. But they have that little thing that makes them better. They have that personality, the way that they are on the ball, the way that they read the game and so on. It's fundamentally different to everybody else. So you throw them in because you know they can handle, say, the technicalities of any game of football. And then you see them shine when they do things that other people can't do. So I think Bouaddi, as we saw in the World Cup, him playing for Morocco, who have expectation on their shoulders, you know, he's a starter for them as a teenager, you know, but he was excellent. And as a consequence, so many people have spoken about him based on what he was doing in France and what he's doing for Morocco as well. So I think if he was to come in, it'd be great to see him in there. You know, you talk about those youngsters, whether it's Cubarsí, whether it's Lamine Yamal. We could talk about, say, for example, a Jude Bellingham going from like Dortmund to Real Madrid. These guys have something special, but they have the fundamentals to where they can always compete from the get-go anyway, and they do not look their age, do not play their age. They're just fantastic footballers. I think Bouaddi is definitely one of those.
Do you know, could I just throw in, I would much prefer, if I was Bouaddi, if I was to put myself in his shoes, I would prefer to go into Man City of 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when you've got your Rodri around you, you've got Silva around you, you've got all these guys around you. When the team's at that level, it's easier to play your own game when you're joining a team that is in control, and you can learn off these guys, and you can smoothly go in and out, and then eventually you're on the right path. I just feel as though Bouaddi going in there now, we've just sat here for what, 15 minutes talking about all the question marks we have over Man City. You bringing a young kid into a team that's got a lot of question marks, that is not the environment for him to show his best or to learn.
Look what happened to Kusanov when he fought. Now, to be fair, he looks as if he's came through it. Yeah. And he was excellent at times. His pace, and he's still learning about reading the game, but he's obviously a good player, and his pace is incredible. But when he first went in, it was a car crash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was just,
and they were having a shocker at the time as well, weren't they?
They were struggling. He got chucked in. He made that first game, I think it was Chelsea.
5 minutes.
Mistake, and his confidence. So you have to really gauge it with the youngsters, where they are, where the team is, where they are, and if they go in and they catch fire and the team's playing great, fine. But if you're having a bad time, then sometimes you've got to take them out.
Yeah, we hope you have enjoyed the latest instalment of Manchester City TV. We'll be back soon. Manchester City will be in action in the Community Shield on Sunday, August 16th, 10 a.m. Eastern, against Arsenal. Nedum will be there for us. ESPN, ESPN Plus and Deportes, as well as the app, will have you covered.